Hey everyone, this is your favorite friend Jay, and today I'm so excited to have such a talent on my channel. Michael Excell is a music producer, a rapper, a writer, a poet, an actor. He's multi-talented. He's like a master of all trades, the master of puppets. So I'm so excited to talk to him about what drew him to the arts in general. And Michael, I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Okay, so we were just talking about how you started and how it started from school and how I think acting came to you naturally because your school was similar to my school experience where we just were so immersed in the art scene. I think we had a theater, we had to act with classmates, we had to sing sometimes and dance. So I want to know what really got you into pursuing this as a career versus how it started.
Well, it's funny because, I said I started as early as, 4 or 5 years old, all the way through elementary. And it was just a natural thing to me. And I always, I've had my favorite, actors growing up and, who I looked up to, like, the Damon Wayans and the Martin Lawrences and the Denzel Washingtons, that was the guys who I looked up to on screen. And, I see guys like, who looked like me as an in adult form doing that. It made it realistic in my head, like, oh, maybe I could do that one day. I never really, as a kid, it was just like a dream type thing, like, oh, like, that's what I would want to do. But in my mind, I didn't really know if that's how life was going to play out. But, I kind of strayed away from it for a little while. And then, had a rough time in high school, was getting into a lot of conflict with people and stuff like that. Cause I moved out of New York and wasn't around people who are like me anymore. And, I was the different one. So of course, you get singled out. So when I came back to New York for college is when acting became a more realistic thing as far as pursuing it professionally, because now I'm an adult and thinking about what I want to do with my life. And I was I wasn't even, that's the thing, I wasn't studying acting, I wasn't taking classes or nothing like that. I was actually doing film classes, like actually, directing and, filmmaking, stuff like that. And, essentially you need actors to do that when you have assignments and projects and stuff like that. And my classmates were always looking for people. And a lot of people are scared to be on camera, actually, and they get very nervous. And it was like a switch went off and I kind of just jumped back into it and was in the mode again. And people were just noticing, like, wait a minute, like, you could do this, like, and they kind of were, intrigued that I was so naturally, I guess, good at it. But I also obviously loved it and it made me happy. And they're like, you ever thought about pursuing this as a professional career? I was like, what do you mean, like an actor? And they're like, yeah, like an actor. Like you should be an actor. Like you are an actor. It's obvious. I was like, yeah, I've done that stuff, on stage and done little projects here and there. But to pursue it professionally, it seemed like so a wild card to me. But the more and more friends kind of talk you up in your corner and stuff like that, and they kind of see the vision before you even see it. They kind of are looking at it and telling you, like, hey, you should do this. And honestly, my first audition, you're probably gonna laugh, my first audition was through Craigslist, and I wouldn't really recommend anybody to do that, but it was through Craigslist. Like a friend sent it to me. He's like, hey man, I think you should go for it. And it was for X-Men Apocalypse, I believe. And
Oh,
it was like a small role, like a guy who was a bartender, nothing, probably had a line or something, like one line. I never been on the audition. I'd like printed out a picture of myself from Facebook as my headshot. And the guy was just like, yo, who is this guy? Like, this is not even a professional headshot, but he is actually really good at reading. You don't have an agent or nothing like that. I was like, nah, so he sent me like a list of agencies to check out of like just casting and stuff like that. Nothing that would necessarily lead me to getting an agent right away or nothing like that. But it was just things like background and off-Broadway theater plays and stuff like that throughout, New York City. And I started, doing a lot of that, like doing, being the guy in the background on film. I was on the Get Down, Netflix is the Get Down. And I started out as just doing, one episode, and then I ended up being in a bunch of episodes because I just had a certain look. And sometimes you do get lucky and you get pulled out of the bunch and you might be given a line or something like that. But again, that goes into all the play of Hollywood. You could do something and it not necessarily make the film. I film a lot of the time, and then I watch the final product, and in my mind I'm like, oh man, I remember doing this and that and that. but it's not in the movie.
Yeah,
And that's just what you kind of got to take with it as the actor. It could be frustrating, but it once you like find your peace with it, that that's a possibility that's always going to happen. You kind of just, you know, you do the best that you can to play the character, and just hope that the director chooses the right parts, you know. But I usually trust the director's judgment. You know, it's their project. Just like how if I'm the director, I would expect the actors to respect my choice of which scenes and lines get put in there, you know.
definitely.
But we led down this road now where, you know, I'm now, you know, finally having my like debut of being in a feature length film. And it was just a very long road to get there, you know, like starting out telling you about doing background and off-Broadway theater and stuff like that. Doing the off-Broadway theater really did make it sharpened my pencil though. It made me sharper. And because there's a lot of moments where you is unscripted because you're on stage and you don't get to cut and say, all right, let's do that scene again. There's an audience watching you. So if one of my castmates mess up, or if anything out of the ordinary happens, the audience can't even know about it. They're not supposed to know about it. To them, this is what's happening. And I've had so many moments like that throughout the years of doing the off-Broadway work in the city and Harlem and Long Island and Brooklyn. You know, I played a lot of different characters and was able to sharpen my tool that way, and kind of just learn how to immerse myself into new characters and getting used to getting new characters and not playing this one thing.
Yeah.
So that's how that helped a lot.
This is what I want to ask you. How different it is to be on stage facing people and then behind the camera. And as an actor, as Michael, which is your preference?
Oh man, people always ask me this too, and it's always hard for me to like really choose one. There's something about theater I will say that is like it's not like film when it comes to the fact that somebody is literally like what I just said, like you can't stop and you got to improv. And sometimes you're given an improv character where the director says you're allowed to go off script at any point. And I had one like that. And it was a rush doing it because it's like your nerves are like on 100,
Yeah.
knowing that how much is on the line. And if I slip up and do something I'm not supposed to do, there's no going back. I kind of got to rock with it. But I don't know. I think that just like how theater has so much to it in that world where it's not like film. Film is the same thing. It's yin and yang, because with film, there's so much that goes into the editing process and making something seem like for instance, the people who are talking to characters that are animated, they're not really there.
Yeah.
They're literally talking to themselves. Like they're talking to like a figure that's there and it's being green screened. That's a whole nother experience. That's a whole nother, like, so I don't know. It's hard for me to really choose one. I would really say that I love them both and I wouldn't want to have to choose, but I do feel like I'm probably going to have a lot more film projects just because of the way the ball turned for me. You know, I ended up doing a lot of my own film projects. I've never directed a play or nothing like that, but I've definitely done a lot of film work in that sense, in writing, you know. So I would say that film has a way of consuming you though. Like
Yeah.
you kind of get lost in that world of, you know, hey, when's the next project? Like when am I gonna get to do the next film? Because there is something that's really exciting about that, you know, going to set and, you know, spending an extended amount of time on the project versus we're just showing this week. We're just gonna do a show this week for 2 nights or something like that.
Yeah.
So the time is different too. So I don't know. I that sounds like I chose film when I said
Yeah,
my
I was
answer.
gonna say.
But I love, but yeah, I want people to understand that I wouldn't be the film actor that I am now if it wasn't for theater. But Denzel Washington said it best himself. The experience for the person who's sitting right there watching the actor act on film, it's the same person for the person all the way in the back row watching me act on stage. You know, acting is, you know, imitating life. It is, I'm giving you the same character and energy. And at least for me, I project mostly the same, you know, because I did a lot of plays where I wasn't mic'd up and I had to make sure that him all the way back there could hear me, just like her right here in front of me could hear me.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to project a certain way, but then you have to learn how to level that when you're mic'd up as an actor on film. You can't scream at the top of your lungs and peak the mic level with the guy. I wouldn't want to kill the boom guy. And but it's just funny because I have in Story Ave, this film coming out soon. I play kind of an angry character, and I kind of yell a little. And I was worried, like, damn, am I yelling too much for the boom guy? But they have their own levels. They're able to adjust it if you're being too loud. But
Yeah.
that was always worried about.
Okay. Awesome. So now you also sing and you rap. So I want to know, like, do you consider yourself a singer, or do you just rap because you have a lot of poetry inside you and you just want to get it out into the world?
Mostly that, to be honest. Like, that's how it really started out. It wasn't like, oh, I want to be a rapper. It wasn't ever really that. I feel like people get excited when they see me do it, and they kind of classify me as that and kind of make up their own mind of what they think I am. And they're like, oh, he's trying to get signed to a record label, so we got to do this and that. And
Yeah.
I feel like it has mostly been a lot of other people's projections on me, but I mean, I definitely started doing music as a own therapeutic thing for myself, because I was dealing with a lot in high school, and I started writing poetry. So
It's
the
always like
poetry,
that with poetry. Yeah, it's
yeah,
always like that. It was like that for me. Yeah.
yeah, so the poetry started sounding like rap verses after a while. And then, you start messing around with instrumentals and beats and stuff like that. And me being such a 90s baby, I love, 90s rap and all that. I have, like, my favorites and stuff. So I was inspired to, express myself the way that, like, certain favorite rappers growing up did, like, DMX and Method Man and stuff like that. It was, and then being from New York too, like, New York, is very heavily cultured with hip hop. So it was
Definitely.
no wonder that I leaned that way anyway. But started as poetry, then started recording. And I wasn't letting anyone know it was a secret, actually. I had my notebooks, no one knew about it. It wasn't until one day I wrote a poem publicly on Facebook and shared it to people. And so many people were getting help that way because they were going through depression, and they didn't realize that they weren't alone in this. And but when they read my poem, it made them feel like somebody else understood. And then I found a satisfaction out of that. I was like, oh, I could actually help people going through stuff if I share it. I wouldn't share it if that was the case. I actually started sharing it, made it public for that reason, to help people with stuff that they're going through, because I had artists that I listened to that helped me with that. So I really mainly started sharing it for that reason. Of course, you naturally find other friends that rap also, so I made, like, a collab mixtape with one of my best friends. He goes by the Cajun. Um, we had a collab mixtape. He raps also. So it's like, two rappers on one whole project, sharing every song, which is, like, really cool to do when you pair up with the right person. So the chemistry, and we have great chemistry, So I know you said you follow my YouTube page and the projects
Yeah.
on there. You would probably notice he's also one of the actors, one of my characters. He plays Gambit
Yeah.
in my werewolf vampire series and movies.
I was just gonna ask you about that. Because it was just,
Yeah.
why are you fascinated with the supernatural? Like, why do you want to express?
I always was, as again, going back to when I was a kid. It all started then when I was a kid, and I was into doing the plays in school and stuff. At the same time, I loved werewolves and vampires and witches and ghosts and just Frankenstein, the Addams Family. Like, I just loved, the supernatural, I guess. So I always loved sci-fi, and I was into outer space and aliens visiting Earth and stuff like that. And I love horror films
Yeah.
as much as I love dramas and, dark dramas and stuff like that. So I kind of mixed the two, me being a heavy drama actor and my love for sci-fi. I was like, let me mix the two together. And I feel like no one's done it yet, where we're watching, I would say, like, I was a fan of True Blood when it was on HBO. They did a good job of, like, mixing like that with the drama and stuff like that. But it hadn't been done yet in the projects, because we don't get a lot of brown faces don't get a lot of screen time in
Definitely.
Hollywood. So and then when they do, it's like, oh, it's it's great. We want to see more. And I had my camera and everything like that. I already knew that I had the tools to do it if I really sat down and took the time to write something. So I did, and I basically was like, it's funny because this all started from a music video series because this character originally didn't have any dialogue. Like I did a whole project where he didn't speak
Yeah.
really because a friend of mine, Kamal, we signed to Atlantic Records, and he in the beginning actually didn't. He wanted to see what fans would like him for his music and not what he looked like. So he actually kept it hidden what he fully looked like. If you saw him, he would keep this covered or something. But he made an EP of, I believe, 5 or 6 songs and a music video to go along with every song. And in those music videos, it told a story. But I played the main character, Bo, and Bo is Bo is a werewolf.
Yes.
So
And
so
there is Damian Alucard, right?
yeah, so and Damien Alucard is the huge villain. Creating he's like, the oldest living vampire in New York. And he it's funny because I made him a character who dresses in all white, but he's technically, the villain.
Yeah.
So and then Bo's favorite color is black. So I really liked the contrast of how they looked on screen together. But that's what I'm actually developing now is Nocturnal, feature length film that follows the last one that I released last year. And that one was the longest film that I had released. Healing Factor was about an hour long. And that was like intimidating to me because I was like, I never made something this long. I wonder if I could actually do it and pull it off. And then when I did it, I felt so much more comfortable to go forward with producing the feature length, which would probably be like an hour and a half, 2 hours or something like that.
Wow.
But we have a lot of different characters, that we're continuing on with introducing, and because with all these different characters come, different possibilities. So right now we're dealing with like a lot of different characters coming to visit us like from other timelines. Time travel is also integrated into the story also. So we might run into somebody who's our kid from the future, and it's like they're a hybrid because a werewolf and a witch had a baby, so now they're
Yeah.
both,
They're out
so
there.
yeah, they're out there. So but even with Damien Alucard was such a long build up for me and the fans, because the fans were so curious, like, what does this guy look like? We keep hearing his name. He's this guy who killed Bo's parents when he was a kid. Who is he? So when I finally got someone to play him, and he was perfect for the role because I've worked with him before and we've played enemies in something before, so I knew we had the chemistry to do it.
Wow.
And I haven't even shown both of us on screen together yet. Like I've kind of had, if you notice, I had my scenes and he had his scenes. So
Yes.
we're building up to that for this next film, and it's gonna be like a really explosive, and I'm really excited for that. And he is
Yeah.
as well. It's great to work with people who are excited about the project also, because he loves playing Damien Alucard. He does such a good job at it. A lot of the props is all him. Like he has his own teeth. He has
Wow.
like, yeah, like he had his own fake cocaine. He had a lot. He had a
I
lot of
love him so much.
yeah. He is Diamond Harding is his name. Diamond Harding, my man. We actually met on a pilot. We did a pilot together actually, where I was playing a gang leader in Philly, and he was like a war veteran coming back home to find that his streets of Philadelphia is being taken over by the Tenson Thompsons gang. And that was like cool to be so mad at each other on screen, and then afterwards we get along. It's a really cool dynamic when that does happen, like when you play enemies and then you guys actually in real life get to connect, and it's like, wait a minute, we get along really good. But sometimes it's hard to be friends with somebody and then play their enemy at the same time on a project, depending on what it is and for how long you got to do it. Um, but I knew that we had the chemistry and he had the physique to do it. So it just lined up that way. And it honestly, it lines up that way with a lot of my characters that I write, because I have such a very clear vision of how I want them to walk and talk and act. Like, so when I see the person, I know that that's who the character is going to be. But it's definitely a lot of work. Because like I said, this is going to be the first feature length that I do myself, writing, directing, and acting in it. Story Ave, that I'm just acting in that, so I get to just act and you know.
I know, but you were great in the short story app. I just want to
Right,
ask
yeah, you
you,
got to watch it, right?
it was amazing. I loved you there. And I felt
And
this intensity. You played so much with the eyes, and it was just mesmerizing for me to watch. So I want to know, where did you get the inspiration and how you this project came to you?
Story Ave, the short. So
Yeah.
that was so it was like it was destined to happen, because I was looking for things to audition for, looking, always, doing different plays and stuff at the time. And I want to say this is around 2016 or
Yeah.
17 or something like that. And um a friend of mine, Justin, he knew of a project that he was helping with, which was Story of the Shore. And they didn't like the guy that was playing the lead role. And they was just like, he's not doing it right. I guess like they were just not happy with what he was presenting. And then he's like, I know someone who definitely be able to do this. So he sends my contact over. He sends some slides over, a couple lines, and I like propped my phone up. I found like a vacant apartment that nobody was in. I went in there and I propped up because I needed to, fully emerge into the characters. I wanted to be alone, to be alone in the room. I had a lot of roommates at the time. I was living with like 12, 13 people at the time, which is crazy. But
I know.
uh, yeah, a lot of energy. So I went into an empty apartment, recorded it with my phone, pretended that Louise was across the table from me at the diner and was just delivering lines. And he was like, yo, can he come to my house today and do like a full audition? And he lived right there in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, and I was just like a walk away. So I was like, yeah, I'm in Brooklyn already. So I went to his house, met him. He's a great dude, Aristotle Torres. And from there, I auditioned. He gave me the role on the spot, because I think I did the stick up scene in his apartment when I
Wow.
went there. So, I did the stick up scene and he liked it. And then, he gave me the role on the spot. And then we did the short. He almost got arrested. Because when we did it so gully style. Like we did it so, we didn't have all the things that you get, the benefits when you're doing a feature length film and you get a budget and an actual producer. Because with the feature length, we were blessed to have Jamie Foxx produce.
Yes.
Short, we didn't have any papers. We had no permits to be on the train platform at that time of night with the cameras and everything. And it was very professional equipment. So when I'm robbing the guy, a train comes on the opposite bound and the camera is set up on that bound. So when it comes, it blocks our shot and you can't see us no more. So they cut, but the train's so loud, no one hears when the director yells cut.
So you're
And I
just
just
going
continue
on.
robbing.
Wow.
I in character and continue robbing. And so people on the train watching, thinking it's real, and they call the cops like someone's getting robbed up here. And I'm not gonna lie, it was a real gun, because we had an off-duty cop with us, and he emptied the clip and gave me the gun. And
Oh,
I,
shit.
I I'm like into guns,
Yeah.
sort of. You gotta say that I like guns, so like I had no problem with it. I was like, yes, let me use the gun. So
Yeah, good. I love this job already.
yeah, and we had already gotten so far with that stick. We went through so many different variations of that stick up scene where it was like we were doing it and it wasn't working in his apartment, mind you. Not even when we were shooting, when we were rehearsing, and we got to the point where he was like, you know what, forget about what's in the script, just rob him how you would rob him. So then I did that and he loved it. So because I wouldn't let someone get that close to me if I was robbing them. So if you notice, I told Luis to stop walking towards me and to just
Yeah.
drop his wallet on the floor and walk away. So when we did it that way, it ended up working out really good. And then me having the real gun on top of that, here comes the police. And then they got Aristotle in cuffs.
Oh my God.
And they see the camera equipment, I think. And I think, they kind of just thought about how it wasn't as serious as what they thought. And they were just like, all right, they didn't even see the real gun, because I actually put the gun in the book bag, like when they came upstairs.
Oh, smart
And
move.
yeah, they actually held up
You're
a mess.
natural. You're natural. You think so criminal like okay, I know why you got the
But
part.
I think so criminal, like I think that I took a lot of like just my own experiences and stuff that I've been through with friends and stuff like that and put it into a lot of these kinds of projects, like even my own stuff. And Story App was one of those New York stories that was like it hit home because
Yeah,
I know what it's like to feel the way that certain characters felt in that film. So when I'm just watching it and I was at the premiere, like it was very emotional for me to even just watch it and because like being someone from New York and watching it, it really hits home. So if anyone is from the Bronx or Brooklyn or anything like that, from New York and when they watch the film, it's really gonna, it's a tearjerker. You might cry when you watch it. But the short, it started out as what it was. You know, we got the attention of because like I said, the police saw the equipment and everything, and they were just like, you know what, you could get a few more shots in.
yeah,
And we did, but you know, we put up a big white screen that was unnecessary, but we just wanted to block the cops from seeing the gun.
yeah,
So we continued it, we got it done. Sundance caught our, you know, we caught Sundance Film Festival attention, and
yeah.
they asked Aristotle to be a part of the director's lab. So that's when they help you develop it into a feature-length film, which they did. And then through a whole bunch of trial and error and losing investments and stuff like that because of COVID, we finally got back to our feet, and Aristotle was able to, you know, lock down investors and producers and stuff like that. And Jamie Foxx is one of them. And again, we were blessed to have Jamie Foxx get on with Foxhole Productions, and everybody's become like family since that, as far as his people at Foxhole Productions. You know, I had a really great time with them at South by Southwest at the premiere in Austin, Texas. So, you know, it's been a long road from, like I said, 2016 to 2017 till now. We're in 2023 now. Like now is like we're finally at the gate where we're like, all right, we're about to like release this film. I mean, the director is hoping for a theatrical release. I don't have any word on if it's gonna be that or another platform or what, but I know that the film will come out soon. And there's actually gonna be a screening in New York in August.
Oh,
I think just like that one screening for just, you know, the New York natives who want to see it. And then I of course I think it's like a limited ticketing thing, but he is hoping, like I said, he's hoping for a theatrical release. That's what he's pushing for. So, you know, probably you may see Story Ave in the movie theaters possibly. So that would
I'd
be great.
recommend it to everybody. It's a great movie. Such a great movie,
Yeah.
really, really.
But remember, I do play a different character. So I'm not playing Kadir this time around. I'm playing a different character. So the lead role of Kadir is played by Asante Black, who we're
When
really
they
blessed
see us,
at.
I
Huh?
think he was in When They See Us.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
And I'm
it was amazing.
a huge fan of his work in that particular film.
Yeah.
And as soon as I met him, I met him on Zoom in like a conference call, and I was going crazy. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm so glad that it's you. You know, I'm a huge fan of his work, and I was like so humbled to know that he watched Story Ave the short and studied, you know, how I played Kadir and was inspired to put his spin on it, you know. And I love what he did. He did phenomenal as Kadir in this film, in this version of Story Ave. So working with him and Alex, Alex Hibbert from The Shy, um, I was really blessed to be able to work with these guys. They're like really, really talented, and it was very natural. And I'm used to having to stay in character the whole time just because other people are so unprofessional a lot of the time. And if they see you break character, they're kind of just off the wall.
Yeah.
So I kind of usually have to stay locked in. And I was able to freely be the character and at the same time be myself around them on set because they're so professional and they made it so easy. It didn't even feel like we were acting. It felt like it was real life what we were doing on camera. Like it didn't feel forced at all. It felt like, you know, we really boys and we're in this graffiti gang. And that's how it is that, you know, in the gangs, you know, you get very locked in and territorial over people and protective. So it was good to get that natural sense of, you know, being with them like that. Louise is played by Louis Guzman now. You've seen him. I've watched him since I was a kid, Carlito's Way and all that stuff like that.
Oh,
So I unfortunately don't have any scenes with him in this movie, but I was able to be on set with him and be around him for a certain amount of time and was able to just soak up any little bit of knowledge that I can from, you know, OG like him. And, you know, I was such a fan of, you know, Wednesday, you know, his portrayal of Wednesday's father in that is actually one of my favorites. Actually, he did such a
great
good
job, really.
job with that. So because and it was just crazy the way everything lined up because people were asking me about actors I wanted to work with in the future, and I mentioned Jenna Ortega, and then I was like, oh, I loved Wednesday, and then I ended up being with him on set and on the same project, and it was just so surreal. It was like, oh my God, wow, like I've actually really been in his stuff and so on, but I was just talking about her, like it would kind of just went full circle. It was really cool.
Yes.
But it is very contrast to see us in the film because although we don't have any scenes together, Louis is somebody who Kader is like he's heading down a certain path, and
Yes.
this right path, Louis is trying to show him this path, and
Yeah.
then you got from the gang that you know he wouldn't approve of stuff that I'm trying to influence him to do. So it was really rewarding to actually watch the whole story play out, you know, the
Very.
way when you see story yeah. So it's like, oh man, I wish I had scenes with him, but then it's like, you know, I'm glad that I was able to play that contrasting role of like something that, you know, um the viewer would see. And
Yes.
everyone's reactions to the film so far is very great. We've been having really great reviews. We actually scored 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is kind of hard to do. So I'm very excited for Story Ave to come out as a whole because you know, getting to work with all these guys that I've been fans of, Melvin Gregg, and you
What a
know,
dream.
just it's very surreal. And everybody has such great blessings coming. Everyone who is a part of this project has such great blessings coming towards them in their own path. So to see us all on the same platform is really great. I know you got to interview the costume designer. She was great and very helpful. She
Yeah.
let me a lot of my own weapons and props to the character. You know, I had like, you know, a blade and
I
certain
gotta
things that
talk to her. I gotta interview her. Wow.
um the costume designer from Story Ave.
Yeah, please. If you can connect us, I'd be just wow.
We'll interview her.
Really.
Yeah, her name on Instagram, you know, she usually goes by her costume. But I think I did actually watch you guys interview
Interact, hopefully.
Whitney Adams.
Whitney was there. Are you
So
serious? Oh my
she
God. Whitney is
is
my favorite. I love Whitney. Oh my God. Wow.
so
She's
great.
brilliant. This cast is made in heaven. Are you serious, bro? Yeah.
Allowed me to get on the phone with her and just be like, hey, like, what do you think about this and that, leading up to the days of production and when we would
Shout out
actually
to
shoot.
Whitney. She's so passionate and awesome. I can see this happening. Wow. Oh my God, Michael. This is amazing, really.
Story and she did a great job at letting us put as much as we wanted to ourselves into characters' wardrobe and just creating the full persona of the characters, you know.
Okay, so what I want to know is working with Whitney, did you come up with the headphones? Did you come up with some of the items in the movie? Like, what are,
So
yeah,
she wasn't a part of this short.
it
She
was
got
part of the feature.
yeah, so once we got the budget to have a costume designer,
Wait,
that's when we came in for the
so
feature length.
wait a minute. So it was all you in the short? This was all you? Because I think the
Um,
character had a look, a specific look that I loved, actually.
I would say the director Aristotle, for the most part, probably I feel like he put that together because I remember the shoes and like the jacket wasn't mine and like the book bag and the headphones. Like I'm pretty
Yes.
sure all of that was just that was all integrated by him because of how he wrote it. Like me being on the train and being to myself with the sketchbook and the headphones. Like I would say that was mostly him. because I don't think we really had a costume designer.
Oh
We
my,
didn't have costume design. Yeah. So for the feature, we were blessed to have Whitney Adams. Yeah. And she's worked on other things like I believe has she worked on The Great Gatsby? I believe. Uh,
yes,
yeah,
with
and it
Baz
was
and Catherine
because
Martin.
my first great experience working with the director on set, even though it was background, Baz Luhrmann singled me out and pulled me out of like a crowd in the Get Down because he was directing that.
Oh
So
my,
that was like, I was already a huge fan. So like, it was really cool for that to be the way that, I met him. And then to find out all these years later, and I worked with Whitney, that was the project she worked on. She was like, oh, I love Baz. I was like, yeah, right. Like, so it was really cool to see all these different circles work their degrees and kind of connect at certain points throughout these different years. Because there's so much of that. And like I've barely begun to even scratch the surface of connecting all the dots. So it's cool to see the little things trickle together right now, like even with like Whitney, her being on the project. But yeah, she helped like incorporate like a lot of different things, like the bandana and like the because Bubs, who I play, the character's name is Bubs in the feature length. When I play him, he's a little bit more gang and street than how I portrayed Kadir in the show. So again, it's like a whole just dialed the character to a whole nother level because or not the character because it's not the same character, but it's just like dialed my experience to a whole nother level because I'm not playing the same guy at all. I'm playing a totally different person.
yeah.
So it was really cool to go through that experience with the actual wardrobe designer now to be like, all right, so we have this and this for these different nights, and then you got to look like this on this night. And then because there's certain things where it's like there's different themes going on, like what's going on in the story almost kind of matches the way I'm dressing for certain things. So but it's funny, the whole movie I'm wearing black Tims the whole movie, so it felt very classic New York to be able to do that. So it's nothing but Tims and Air Forces, and the director stressed how important it was to our culture to have that in the film. As New Yorkers, like we grew up with Timberland boots and Air Forces, that's what we wore. So it was really cool to have official wardrobe designers on something like this. It was really, really, really cool to be blessed in that way.
Okay. Wow. So I want to ask you because you do a lot of supernatural horror acting. Okay. I want to ask you about certain scenes like transformation scenes, for example, where you're just being a vampire or a werewolf. How do you get into that? Like, how do you tap into the mentality of that? Just tell me.
And
I'm so curious.
um so I remember I write these stories too. So since I'm doing the writing, I have the benefit of pre-prepping myself in a sense. So it's like I'm already premeditatedly in character when I'm writing it. So in a sense, I almost kind of already really know what I'm gonna do as a whole once I sit down, because a lot of these things I had to shoot myself too. So it's like I go hit the record button and I'll go and jump into the character and be the character. But I would say a lot of anger goes into Bo. Because the thing with Bo is he has a complex where he's not 100% proud of being a werewolf. He almost kind of feels like he's cursed. He's a monster. Um, he doesn't want to always kill people. He sometimes wish he could just pretend to just be a human, a regular human that doesn't transform at all. And for a lot of people in his life, it is a secret and he doesn't tell them, and they do think he's just human. So I think once you put that spin on it where it's like, there's always this inner voice talking to you, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. He deals more with the bad talking to him. So I tap into a whole nother thing of like, because for him, I don't think I never really did a brain chart for him. I created this thing when I started doing theater more, called a brain chart. And it's when I take two columns and I put in one column what the character is thinking about, next to every action he makes throughout the play or movie. And that's supposed to line up. What am I thinking about while I'm doing this? So I did that for both characters for Story Ave. I did that for like every character I ever played. But Beowulf always seems to be the one I don't have to do that for because I do the writing for him. So I don't really have to get into character. I'm like already him, premeditatedly in a sense. So like, but I would say the anger really is what draws him into, I play off of that because he has a short fuse, a short temper. So when I'm getting into werewolf mode and you see I'm doing the growling and my eyes roll back in my head and all of that, um, it's just that it's the anger that taps into that. And also remember what he's thinking about. A lot of the time he's still mad about Damien Alucard killing his parents. And then he also was dating his daughter and didn't even know until it was too late. So he feels conflicted. He's in love with this girl who is carrying his baby now, which obviously is probably going to be a vampire werewolf hybrid, which is like very
Gonna kill
frowned
us all, this baby.
yeah,
This baby
yeah.
is gonna go full of load insane on
It's
us.
very frowned upon in the community of both werewolf and vampires, and not supposed to mix in that way. So it's interesting to see how everything is going to play out, especially if we get a visit from him from future version of him and he's grown. So it's definitely going to be like you already see where it's going. He's like, this guy's going to kill all us. Yeah, so he's gonna be another favorite. For sure. But yeah, I would say the anger is mostly what drives Beowulf's character, his anger, I would say. So it's kind of like the Hulk, how the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets,
Yeah.
which is one of my favorite Marvel characters. So I get inspired from like all these different things. Like, I'm a huge comic book fan, huge comic book nerd. So I'm into the Marvel and DC stuff. I've always been a huge Wolverine fan. So
Ooh,
I got a lot of inspiration. Yeah, I got a lot of inspiration of like the rage from that. And, because, Hugh Jackman has been Wolverine since I was a kid. So it was cool to see this one guy play throughout all this time and see how it progresses in the evolution of the character. And, he's always had this very pulsy rage of like, when he's clawing out, he's like, "Grr!" Like he just,
yes.
like, he's really good. And he's also a theater actor as well.
That's
So
why
I take a lot of inspiration from great people. I mentioned Denzel Washington,
the goat.
always looked up the GOAT.
Definitely Denzel. Everybody's like
Everyone
mesmerized by
knows
Denzel. Everybody's
Denzel.
like influenced by Denzel. Are you serious? He's there.
Yeah, definitely. I loved the fact that, he's never stuck to just like really one typical genre. We got to see him in sci-fi stuff and, serious things that are just straight crime. It's always good to see somebody who has a good range of different things. So I definitely have always took inspiration from him and even guys like Jim Carrey. I grew up on Jim Carrey. Like I love Jim Carrey.
Too.
I love the mask. I love, watching him in all the different things
And
from,
he's very
the
physical too. This is why you're drawing the physical. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
see how he plays Dr. Robotnik and Sonic and all these different things. The Grinch. And that was very similar too, to go through the makeup process of playing the werewolf the first time I played him. We did such like heavy makeup. So it was like about 2 hours to put on and it took 1 hour to take off. When Jim Carrey played the Grinch, he was smoking cigarettes and bouncing around because out of anxiousness because of how he said it was torture. Because I just got this. I think I got the forearms with the fur, and then I had like all of this. But Jim Carrey was from head to toe Grinch, so that's a lot to go through. With that type of stuff. And the funny thing is, I'm that type of person that would probably do that. That would probably play that kind of character where I gotta go through that amount of makeup because
It's not a preference for you. You don't like that.
I mean, I'm not gonna say it's a preference where I want that to be the only thing I do, but it's not off the table for me. Like I'm open to doing it because I think doing those things are very rewarding. I would love to play a beastly character where I'm just completely covered in fur and someone has to tell you like that's Michael Excell, and then it'd be like, oh my God, I think that's cool to play a character that you can't even recognize me as, if the makeup is that good,
Of course.
So
Wow.
my appreciation for the wardrobe department comes in so much in the makeup department and stuff because they really make the whole production whole. we got to come in and memorize our lines and be in character fully and really do our thing in the cameraman. But we can't forget about, the costume designers and,
The makeup
the
people, the hair people, everybody.
the writers, producers on set, everybody. Plays their part. So everybody, once it all lines up in a good team in that way, like it's always a knockout of the park. So that's why I get blessed with doing my own projects, like the werewolf stuff, with Nocturnal coming up and everything. Like I'm blessed to have as many friends as I have that want to see it come to real life, that help it do that, because I don't have the means all the time to always have like the most budgeted thing. So a lot of this stuff had like little to no budget actually. So I was lucky to able to make it look the way that it looks. Like I said, that's the beauty of film. If we're gonna compare and contrast film and theater, like you're able to, you're given time to edit things and make it look a certain way. That's the beauty of filmmaking.
Yeah. So you're a director and at the same time an actor. And for me, I always thought the director is like the god of the set. He's always in control. And the actor is more, I'm not gonna say like controlled by the director. At the same time, I feel like the actor is more vulnerable, let me say, and the director
Yeah.
is there, kind of controlling everything, kind of like the chess master playing with all the pieces. So which feels more freeing and which feels more, like, and do you prefer something over the other or just you're an auteur and you want to do both?
To be honest with you, I prefer acting over directing.
Why?
Uh, I get more of a experience out of it. Um, with directing, it's like I kind of always know how it's gonna go, what I want, what's gonna, with acting, I become so immersed into the character and make him such a real thing that, you kind of don't always know what's gonna happen because you can't control everyone on set like how the director can. I don't really have control as an actor. I don't have control over everyone else on set with me. So, when I do certain things, like in Story Ave, like I did something that wasn't scripted or said something that wasn't scripted and got a real reaction out of like Alex or Santi. That's so rewarding to me. That's something that I think about for the rest of the week. Like, oh man, that was such a great moment. Like I didn't even know that was gonna happen, but like everyone just went along with it, and then it ended up being so real, and the director ended up loving it and stuff like that. To me, that's really, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more experience and rewards in the actors department as far as like just the immediate experience of it while you're doing it. In the long run and stuff like that, it could be very rewarding to be the director because at the end you get to see the full scope of what you created, and it's not just about this scene that you were in. It's about the whole thing. But I'm able to appreciate it from both realms when I watch it. Like I said, I've watched Story Ave probably 3 times now, the feature length. And every time I watch it, I'm just so satisfied with the whole thing because of me playing this character there and how it relates to a scene that I'm not even in. And Louis' character and all this stuff like that. And yeah, I would say there's a different kind of satisfaction. I think, I don't know, I think maybe because I started out as an actor, like that was my first like baby, as in a sense. I always have this different kind of love for acting. It's always been number one for me.
Yeah.
um yeah, I think, yeah, it's acting over directing. People, I mean, honestly, most people, if you ever get to interview like Denzel or Michael B. Jordan, they got to direct and act in projects at
Yeah.
the same time. Like Creed 3, I believe he directed that. For Denzel, he did Fences and directed it. They
Amazing
asked him
movie.
to do it again. He said, no, I would never direct and act at the same time again. Because
So
for some people,
tough.
it's really, it's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility to put on one person to be the director and play a character that's a major character in the film.
I think that's
It's a
tough.
lot, but with that could be, it's tough, but it's like I think what might make it easy for some people, like when I'm doing like my werewolf sagas, is because I'm the writer also. I'm not just directing. So remember, you got to remember that with a lot of my directing comes that I'm also writing it. So it started from I had such a clear understanding of the project going into it from day one. It's not like someone wrote it and then handed it to me. It's like, I want you to direct this. So it's a different experience for me. So for Denzel, he didn't write Fences. Is different for him. You know, Michael B. Jordan, I don't know how much he played a part in the writing room for Creed 3. So but I think both of them did great jobs. I would love to see them do more directing. I think that it is safer to say that I think that some people should just stick to acting and not touch doing both, because it might be too, they know their limits. And if they say it's too stressful for them, everyone else in the room has to respect it, because you're not going through that experience that that person's going through. So Denzel is most likely making the right call by saying, hey, I will never direct and act in the same project again. I'll direct again, but I'm not gonna bring myself to, do that when I feel like, it's not necessarily something that needs to be done.
Yeah.
But it is cool to say that you've done it at least one time.
At least you did it once. Yeah. You gotta
Yeah,
win.
it's a lot of energy though. To, like I said, even with me, like I was the cameraman, director, and in it and writing. So like for me to hit record and then jump in the frame, and it's a lot.
It's a lot.
I don't prefer it to be that way. That was because I had to do it.
Yeah, you have to
But
put your work out there. You just wanted to put your
yeah,
art out there. Yeah, definitely. I can see that.
yeah, I've definitely gotten to audition for a lot of great things though, just because of like Story Ave, because Story Ave, the short, got around a lot in California and Hollywood and stuff like that. And people knew me that I didn't know knew me and started contacting me to audition for certain things. And yeah, I'm glad that certain people already are aware of my work. Even though I haven't like fully broke through yet. But this next film is gonna be like a huge thing for all of us. Like we're really excited for it because it's different. It's a new story, a new Bronx story that we haven't seen yet. And
Oh,
it really speaks to people who grew up doing the graffiti culture, because graffiti is such a huge part of New York culture too. So I feel like we haven't really gotten a film that depicts it the way that a lot of people experienced it, because a lot of people are like, just, normal kids. They're not really bad kids per se, but they end up being under a certain circumstance and are kind of left with no choice, or at least they think they don't have another choice. So it's like they just end up going down a certain path. And I feel like there's so many stories like that that could be being told. And this could be the start of, more stories like that. For people
okay.
to understand.
So I saw your actor's reel and I saw you in scenes where you get beaten and you get, like on the ground and it's so intense. I don't know which movie
That's
or
so that's
yeah.
Bo. That's the werewolf.
Oh my goodness. But
And
I didn't
you
see this
have a
one.
thing where
Yeah.
so that was the music video. That was one of the music videos. I told you
See,
it
yeah,
started
that's
the
why, because
guy.
I saw Bo. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
just get beaten up and on the ground, and it's so intense. And then I see you as Bo, and you're so evil and sinister. And I'm like, okay, Michael can do both. So which is easiest for Michael to step into this vulnerability where it's on the ground and someone else is kind of like being aggressive with you, or you're the aggressor? I want to know.
What's easier?
Yeah, which easier to like act or tap into as an actor, like being the vulnerable one or being the one who is like the aggressor? Like which is easier to draw your emotions into or to put yourself in an emotional state into? Because I'm just excited if you can do two parts that are completely different from each other and at the same time one of them is so vulnerable and so demands a lot of physicality being put on you, and at the same time you're just a werewolf. You're like, you can do anything, you can kill us all and we wouldn't know it. So which is easier, which is tougher?
Um I'm laughing because I already know the answer.
Oh my
Um
god, no.
so it's easier for me to be the aggressor, and the werewolf and all that stuff, because one, I've been doing it for a certain amount of time. Like I've done more of the aggressing stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and a little bit of times that I've been the one who's beaten up on the floor, um, at least with the particular one that you're talking about,
Yeah.
it's from music video called Police, and it's about police brutality on Black Americans, you know, for the most part,
Yeah.
and how we kind of just get singled out off the street,
Yeah.
even, and could end up in somebody's trunk of their car
Yeah.
and, you know, rob you somewhere, beat you up, and because of the police, they get away with it. And it was emotional to go through that because I've had like my own experiences, you know, police, you know, and you know, even when I was watching, like we mentioned, When They See Us, I took me a
Yes.
long time to watch that because I had my own Central Park experience with police that it
Oh,
was traumatizing to me. So I, you know, kind of stuck away from watching that movie for about a year. And then a year after it was out, I watched it finally and of course loved it. I was like, oh my God, this was actually so good. But because, you know, it hit home a certain way, I kind of strayed away from it a little bit. So I would say that's what makes it tougher to do that particular situation of getting beat up by the police on camera, because a part of me remembers being violated by the police and taps into the emotion of that, and being the victim in that way. And then just overall the message that, you know, we're trying to send, like as an actor, you know, the reason why you're doing this particular thing is because we're trying to put more awareness on it. So it just comes from a very vulnerable, scary, scared place of fear and hope, of hoping that, man, I hope by me depicting this right now is shedding light on it and letting people know that this is something that needs to stop, and hopefully this gets some type of change, like maybe it makes somebody want to do something to help this change. So for me with that particular project, I would say that's what made it hard to do it like that. I
yeah.
have another character, I think, where I'd get beat up by a blind date. It's meant to be like funny, but I I would say that was hard because we were literally on concrete. So it
Oh,
wasn't like so like to be like somebody who's falling on the ground and stuff like that, and you're falling on concrete, and we didn't have like the soft mats or anything to break my fall. That's
yeah.
what makes that more hard to. So like you got to think about the physical toll on my body too. So to be the one who's getting beaten up, and even though it's not real, um you're still in a real environment and there's still real hard things around you, maybe at least for that particular thing. But I mean, I'm sure I'll be blessed one day to do fight scenes where I'm completely protected because there's insurance and stuff like that.
And let
But
me
when
tell you, you will be great. I mean, I see the physicality and you're going to be awesome in it. Please,
thank
Michael,
you.
we need to see him in a fight. We need to see him in something like a fight club, but just something
Fight
grittier.
Club. Oh, man, I
Oh
love that.
my
That would
goodness.
cool.
I can see you
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
movie like
I've
that.
very do a lot of, yeah, I would love to do action. That was, I mean, being a little kid and watching, you know, Terminator and different things like that, and just different Beverly Hills Cop, and just seeing Eddie
Oh,
Murphy running with the gun and stuff like
I love
that.
it so
Like I
much.
don't know, like, yeah, you know, like I was just like, you know, I would love to do action, you know, as a kid. That was the first thing that intrigued me. So I'm sure that action roles is definitely gonna come up in my path at some point. And um I gotta continue on the legacy because, you know, I was a huge fan of Chadwick Boseman, and I was very sad when he passed away, and you know, because that's our Black Panther, you know. So if I could, you know, if I could add to the history of, you know, just great Black actors that can do things like that, that'd be great. So I definitely am excited to do more action stuff, and, you know, um fight sequences and stuff like that, you know. um yeah, like I'm very I'm very interested in doing that for sure. It hasn't come up outside of my projects as of recently too much, but I do feel like, you know, it's something that's just going to inevitably happen though.
Yeah, me too.
um you know, just by people observing certain things that I've already done, I think that it is destined to happen. So um I'm glad that even you have been a fan and, you know, been able to recognize the work for what it is.
Definitely. I could see it. Like, I could see you being in an action movie, really. And I could see you being both, like the anti-hero, like because in Black Panther, I think I was also drawn to Michael B. Jordan's character so much, and I loved him so much. So yeah, I can see you being both sides of the
Oh,
gun. So yeah,
you have a preference? What do you like me as the bad guy? You like me as the good
yeah,
guy?
it would be
What?
awesome.
Always the bad guy.
It would be awesome to see you as a good guy, as in, like a vulnerable, like person. That would be great to draw this from you, because it's always great when you see, actors who are known for playing villains showing the softer side. But you as a bad guy is just ace. It's gonna kill. Like, you have to be a bad guy all times.
Oh wow. Okay. Nah, yeah. And it's funny. One of my best again, Gambit. The Cajun, he tells me that a lot too. He's like, yeah, man, like you could easily be the hero, but something about you being a villain is like really
Seriously,
top tier.
very
So
exciting to watch.
yeah, like people ask me all the time, like, is it funner to play the hero or the villain? Like, which one do you want to play? Um, but I ain't gonna lie. I mean, it really depends on the character per se. Because I could have a good guy that I technically like enough that like I enjoy playing him a lot. But the villains do. I give I give my villains very crazy backstories. So and journals, like I make a lot of journal entries as the character, and voice recordings and videos and stuff like that. Things that people never see.
Yeah.
It's prepping to be the character when I film. So yeah, so I think the villain stuff. I'm not, I do enjoy it a little bit more. So I like playing the villains because there's just
Enjoy it
there's a
a
lot of
little
depth
too
there.
much, Michael. I can feel
A little too much.
it.
That's where the method acting starts to get dangerous. People are like, yo, he's a method actor. He starts to really. I remember
Okay.
there was a audition I had for an internet commercial, and it was called Forgiver app. It was an app where you ask people for forgiveness for something.
Oh,
Like someone did something wrong to you, and then you send it, or you could send it to the person asking for forgiveness.
yeah.
And in the audition, they said I had to scare them.
Oh,
They just told me I had to scare them. So then they said scare us using what did they I can't remember if they gave me the stapler or if I just picked it up, honestly. But I took a stapler and just started stabbing my hand, and then it started bleeding. And they were just in shock. And then I got the role. But
of course,
but
you got the
it
role.
was so early on. Like, I was trying so hard to get anything at that time. I'm so selective these days, honestly. But I was trying to get anything at the time that I was stabbing myself in the audition. And it was Staples. It was very thin, so I knew I'd survive. I know I was fine. But like they were just like they thought I was crazy for that. But they were like, yo, the guy's a psychopath that he's auditioning for. So let's give it to him since he's crazy enough to do that. So
Like, of course, I do this if I were them. Like, hello, he went full blown insane. Give them the role.
yeah, it was definitely an experience, but it's something I'm definitely always gonna remember. Just even that audition, like that was interesting to me to see their reaction of like, wow, like they wanted me to scare them, and I was just like, well,
And you did mission
it's always
accomplished.
cool when you take it to a level that they're not expecting you to take it to.
Definitely, definitely. And I feel like you're the kind of actor who takes things to another level. Like I can see this with Bo. I can see it in Story Ave. So I see it in a lot of things. And I'm so excited to watch even more stuff that you're in, because I feel like you take things further than expectations and than what people would anticipate in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it's better to go big or go home, or do it big and let the director tell you to tone it down rather than to do it too little and them feel like you're not giving enough,
Yeah.
or he doesn't have the ability to go there. So if you go there, you can always dial it down, be like, hey, can you just tweak it like this? But if you don't even touch there at all, you're more likely to make people think that you can't go there. So I think that's where that came from. I played an abusive husband in a play in Harlem, and I think that's what scared me out of that, because I, I was playing the character a certain way for a couple of weeks in rehearsals, and then for some reason one of the directors, wait till like a few days before the show and tell me that I wasn't playing him right. in my mind, I was like, why didn't they tell me this? Like, we've been rehearsing for weeks. Like, why are they waiting until now to tell me this? And I think that it wasn't that I was playing him bad, but I think they wanted me to take it to another level. And they were like, all right, so we only got a couple days left. If we're gonna make any changes, so we got to tell them now. They're like, all right, they were probably like, let's just see if we could get him to take it up a notch a little bit. So they was just like, yeah, we're not scared of you when you're playing him, and we're supposed to be scared of you. You're beating up your wife, you know. So it's like we kind of like you still. Like we look at you and you're like, oh yeah, we like him. Like, you know, he's a likable guy. He's just upset, you know? Because
Oh,
like I'll get with being like the handsome character that everyone likes, you know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that's not what I was supposed to be. So I remember Tony Havoc was his name. I actually gave him a last name. I created that last name Havoc because I just wanted that more darkness on him. But you know, I made him uh way more darker than what I was doing in first 3 weeks of rehearsal. So by the time we did the show, I was really, you know, scaring people for real. Like, and I kind of just stayed in character the whole day and night between shows and everything. Like I was just the whole day I was him.
Oh my
And you know, when you get told that you're not doing enough, you kind of get to that place as an actor where, especially if you're a theater actor and you got to project and make sure everybody in the room hears you if it's like 200 people and you're not mic'd up. So I really had to like dig down to a place of like uh easily grabbing anger, like it being in at my disposal in this pot that I could just grab it out of. Like I kind
yes.
of just had to be there, you know, in a sense. So I honestly went to the roof of my apartment and screamed at the top of my lungs, just to get a comfortability of getting my octave there. Because every time he spoke, I just made him go to the highest octave. Everything he said was a yell at her. He wasn't talking to her anymore. Everything was
Yes.
rage. So the end of the scene is so funny. So how sometimes theater writers and directors, they'll write things a certain way and then want you to just know what they're thinking. You know what I mean? Like there's like just know to do this. So I don't remember what was written, but at the end they expected me to like, you know, try to force her to give me oral sex.
Oh my, yeah.
And yeah, so like imagine all that rage, and then at the end of the scene, that's what's happening, like right as we close curtains.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that detail because of how it was written. It was written kind of funny. I can't remember what was written exactly, but however it was written didn't let me know that that's what they wanted to do. So she's like, "So you know what you're doing, right?" I was like, "No." She's like, "You want oral?" I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Oh, okay. All right. All right. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but I want oral at the end. Just side note, I want oral at the end. And at the end of that scene, with all the rage and everything, I had a button up and I started. I didn't have like a shirt on underneath, like so. I started unbuttoning my shirt
Oh,
and unbuttoning my pants, and just grabbing the back of her head and forcing her towards me. And you could even hear the crowd's reaction. Like it
I
got like,
know.
you know, so for me to go there and then given a little detail like that, it just pushed it over, and it was just like it was perfect, honestly. Like it was exactly how he was supposed to be depicted. And that's where I love the relationship between the director and the actor, like the back and forth. And you know, and because I'm as close as I am with Aristotle with Storyev, it makes it that much easier anytime I work with him. Like it's never difficult to work with Aristotle for me. For me personally, it's never a problem because once you get a good director by your side, like
You can
it's
do
kind of hard to
everything.
fail. Yeah, it's hard if you have a good actor and a good director, it's hard to fail after that, you know. So
No.
I love when I get paired up in that way.
So, Michael, I want to ask you, I always hear this from other actors that when you have another actor and you're one on one and they're great, you feel like you're even doing better or just pushing yourself more. So, do you always have to have another player when you can be together to form a team? Like when I see Fences and I see it's Viola Davis and it's Denzel, and I feel like, oh my God, look at these two. It's always like that. Like when I have Heat and there is Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, and you feel the synergy. So, do you feel this way too?
Yes. I definitely you know, that's why I've casted even my own projects the way that I have with certain scenes. I mean, with the exception of this last film, I did it that way on purpose to kind of build up a certain sense of suspense where we had a lot of scenes to ourselves, or at least Bo had a lot of singular scenes by himself. But with the exception of the scene where you see me have an encounter with the Grim Reaper, um that plays a big part because I know that I have great chemistry with these people, so I purposely line it up that way so that I get to be in this scene with them for a certain amount of time because I know that we can handle it together and it'll probably go faster than the scenes that where I'm shooting by myself, and pretending to talk to someone who's not there. So the synergy is very important, so important actually. And that's why I praised Asante and Alex and Melvin, and Mitty and Kui the way that I do, because being able to have them be my counterparts of my what do you call it, my gang members, my associates, you spend a lot of time with them, and if the chemistry wasn't good, it would have made it dreadful to shoot the project with them. But we had great chemistry on and off camera, so that is what allowed us to do it the way that we do it. And you see in like my web series of, when I first started making the werewolf characters speak and have dialogue, I put a lot of scenes where it's like Bo and Gambit, because in real life they're best friends, so on screen it will be that much easier for us to depict that. I had the pleasure of working with Paulina Singer. And Paulina Singer, she actually her most recent role was in I don't know if you follow Power. 50 Cent produces the series Power Book, and has a whole bunch of spin-offs. And Raising Kanan is one of them now, and she played a role of a singer in that. So she has like a lot of different things that she's doing now too, and she's been acting for some time too. So she's been, climbing up to the top as well for some years now. But she's also a very good friend of mine. We have like great chemistry on camera, so she makes our scenes very easy because we have great chemistry in real life. I strayed away from having us on screen together for like that first season of the web series, and then finally I was like, we haven't seen them together yet. Let's put them together in the same room and see how it is. And we really didn't have much rehearsal, actually. Like, we didn't really rehearse at all. Like, kind of sent her the script. She loved it. She was like, oh yeah, we'll definitely be able to do this. And then her playing a character like Mother Nature that makes Bo so vulnerable, because he's not vulnerable to a lot of people. He could hurt a lot of people, but when he's around death or Mother Nature, he's vulnerable. Those are things that can hurt him.
Yeah.
So for Mother Nature to be an ally and someone who cares about him and is able to calm him down when he's going into rage, if he's about to wolf out, she's like the one person that could stop him and calm him down.
Yeah.
So I had to be very comfortable with someone physically and mentally to be able to do that. And Paulina made that really easy, and has always made it very easy, to do that. We help each other with, auditions and stuff like that. So it's been really helpful to have like actual friends on projects with me, and then become friends with people like Alex and stuff like that with, from Story Ave. We get, you either get blessed with knowing somebody and having them be a part of your life after projects, or you work with somebody and it's like, it was cool, but I
Hope
don't
to
think we
not
need
see you again.
that. Yeah, like there's people who just don't see each other outside of the projects or don't talk or anything like that. But it's cool when you do meet someone that you could stay connected with and kind of still go down this path, because we're going down the same road. We're pursuing the same thing. So there's so much that we understand about each other as actors, especially Black actors. It's always important to connect and have that synergy. But it's like a give and take. Like, we're pulling and grabbing for each other. Sometimes there's a lot of times they do some stuff that I'm not even aware that they're about to do, and they'll just do wouldn't try it because they're in character and it's so authentic and genuine that no one's gonna yell cut, be like, hey, that's not in the script. It's like we just let it happen, and something greater that you didn't even expect that was gonna happen happens and ends up making the cut, maybe, you know. So
Yeah.
it's always great to it's always great to work with another person, as opposed to by yourself, I would say.
Awesome.
it's
So is
it's hard
there
it's harder to do the singular scenes, I say.
it's harder, it's what is it like? Is it like a monodrama? Is it like you're alone in a room and it's just you
Like doing
versus you?
like yeah, it's like doing a monologue, you know, having a really long monologue, I guess.
Okay.
And those are always the ones as the actor that you're nervous about. Like, say, especially in theater, you get on stage and you know have this big monologue. Like I remember I was very nervous going into playing Father Time in a play
24,
in
I think, or something. Yeah.
yeah, in Manhattan. Yeah, I was playing Father Time. And you know, I was literally time as an entity walking around and talking and being able to stop time and observe humans and do these different things. And I was also the play's narrator in that sense. You're given a lot of responsibility of that. So and it was kind of like last minute because I wasn't supposed to play Father Time. Someone else dropped out. It was gonna be Mother Time, and the woman dropped out. And sorry.
It's okay. I'm spooked. This is the spirit of Bo.
Sorry, that was very hard just now.
Haunting us.
Someone didn't know I was in here. Um,
This is Bo.
so yeah, the woman dropped out. It was no longer mother time, it was father time. And I had very little time to memorize the lines, and it was a lot of lines. But luckily I'm good at memorizing things. So I was able to memorize the lines and be very comfortable and confident on stage with it. But you know, those moments before, you know, you walk from behind the curtain and you reveal yourself to the audience, it's very nerve-wracking, like very, you know, so it's a lot. Like, you know, you got to kind of like turn the nerves into confidence and walk out on stage and be
Yeah.
presentable. But yeah, it's like doing a really long monologue. Like when anytime you're by yourself and you have like a lot of lines to yourself and there's no one going back and forth, that's always a little bit more challenging, especially if you're someone who isn't good at memorizing. Luckily, I am someone that's good at memorizing, so it's probably not as hurtful to me as other people. But again, I would much rather be in the scene with at least one other person so that there's a back and forth. But there's a lot of beauty and reward. Like I said, it's very rewarding to do those narrating. I actually love narrating as, you know, those
And I
characters.
think
And
you have the voice too. Like I can see you doing even voice work and stuff. So you have the whole package.
I definitely want to dive into that as well at some point. I would love to do voice work and voice characters, animations, and all that stuff. You know, I would love to do that. Because there's a lot of different voices that I'm able to do too, not even on top of my actual voice.
Oh wow, you can manipulate your voice as well.
Yeah, my friends are always they think I'm so good at just imitating people in our lives because like anytime I imitate somebody, like they're like, yo, you sound just like so it's always cool to get those compliments as an actor because you know it just comes natural to me to do that kind of stuff. So it's
Yeah, you
always
just
fun.
invested in the art. You're putting it in the art too, so you're very varied. You have a lot. You have a lot really to offer. Wow. Okay, so what I want to
Yeah,
ask you is, what does Bo, what is Bo facing? Like, I'm so interested about this character and the world building.
you
What
said
can
what is
we
he
expect?
facing?
Yeah, like what can we expect for Bo? What is happening with him and Damien and all those characters we love?
Um, so what you have is Bo who's very angry at Damien, and then you have someone like Damien who this happens in real life a lot. I witness it a lot where there's someone out there that's very angry with you and wants revenge and all these things, and you're not even aware of it. You're kind of so wrapped up in yourself and think that you're always right about everything that you don't even realize how someone you angered someone and how they're coming for you
Yeah,
and your life isn't in danger in a sense, and you just think you're untouchable. And I was trying to capture that with those two because you know Damien's a very cocky, arrogant kind of guy and very strong though, rightfully so. Like he's the strongest, oldest vampire in New York. You know, he has a reason to, but at the same time, um, there's a reason why they don't like the werewolves, because
Yeah.
the werewolves are very strong and not afraid of the vampires. So you have this big beef in history between them that only one person is aware of. And all you know is that someone has been walking around town asking about you, trying to find you, and you feel kind of like, yo, who is this guy? You don't even know he's a werewolf. You just know that there's a guy walking around. You just think it's a human. So that's why he's so cocky about it. He's walking into this next film in Nocturnal, he's walking into a fight that he doesn't realize is as serious as it is. You know, he doesn't think that Bo is anybody to really be threatened by. So with Bo, he's dealing with that, and the possibility of him having a son out there that is about to be born with someone who it's against the werewolf culture to do that with. If you're a part of the wolf pack, you're not supposed to fornicate with vampires, so that means him having any type of relations with her was not okay. So um everything is gonna start to implode. Like all the walls are gonna hit each other basically in this one. Like all the people that you wanted to see face to face and be in the same room with each other is gonna finally happen. And Bo and Damien is gonna be one of those highly anticipated conflicts. So he is dealing with whether it's right or not to like kill Damien, because that's essentially what he wants to do. He wants to kill Damien.
Yeah.
And there's people in his life that they don't see it that way. Most of the wolf pack are not going to be okay with that, because you're going to start a war if you do something like that. But he's holding on to his own personal reasons why he wants to do this, and there's really no telling him no. In a sense, he's just going to really try his best to do it, and it's kind of hard to stop him unless, like I said, your mother nature or death or something like that. And death is the grim reaper. Death is kind of like the mischievous one that's like, I want to see more people die. This is what's supposed to happen.
This
Mother
is
Nature's
fun.
like, yeah, Mother Nature, who is actually siblings with Death, which is funny, they're sisters. So it creates such a crazy uh dynamic, because it's like you got Death kind of like antagonizing Bo and telling him to do this and that, and this is gonna happen and that. And then you got Mother Nature over here, like, she just wants peace. She doesn't think it's necessary for it to get to that point.
Yes.
She thinks that he can heal on his own without having to do that. But it's again, it's very it's a wild card, like I said, because you got a good side of Bo that he does want to be a good person, but it's like there's this demon in him, this wolf that and the story's gonna like, without trying to reveal so much, that's how I'm wording it this way, because it's really so much crazy things that's gonna happen, and it's gonna go to a place that people are not expecting it.
Wow.
So yeah, I would just say everybody should be prepared for as much sci-fi as possible, because it just gets more and more. Cause I told you we're introducing the time travel. If you watched the last one, Healing Factor, I had like 2 post-credit scenes. The first one introduced a character named Echo from the future. She comes through a time warp, and her mother is a witch and her father is a wolf, Gambit. So to see what she's able to do magic, and to be able to bring the claws out is going to be very interesting, and even down to how you see the characters designed and how what she's wearing, because I had to do a lot of the wardrobe stuff myself, because it's my
Wow.
project. So I would have them, if I know that your character, your mother and your father wear this, I tried to mash up the outfits as much as I can, so that it's obvious that this is who this person is.
This is so
And
cool.
just different little things too, different mannerisms and stuff like that. But I would say you're gonna expect to see like um I guess you're gonna get to see Bo in like his best form in this next one. Like it's like everything everyone wanted to see, because him being away for so long, him going away to Jamaica, and then him coming back, and him getting into an accident, being hurt, and all this stuff. Like it's a lot of buildup. You want to see him reunite with his friends, and like, is he gonna see Basil again, and Aisha and all of them? Like everything is just gonna hit the fan, basically.
Wow. We're going full blown crazy. Awesome. Can't
Yes,
wait. Can't
yes.
wait.
So it's
Okay.
gonna be, yeah, more very a lot of blood and violence,
On the
honestly.
gore. Yeah, it's gonna be gorier. Hello.
More, more gun, more knives, more guns, all that stuff. You
Okay.
know.
So you have Nocturnal and you have Story App. What else do you have? Are there any projects that you're working on or even contemplating working on?
Um, I've been trying to keep my book open as far as like what's gonna come next, as far as like something, as far as someone else booking me on something else.
Okay.
Um, not Turner right now is the only project that I'm working on myself, like something that I'm creating myself. Because it is a feature length and it's gonna take a lot of work to do it. Um, but I'm currently like looking and shopping around at different roles and stuff like that, as far as from other productions and stuff like that. So I was in talks with at South by Southwest with Jamie Foxx's production team from Foxhole Productions. And it wasn't like we were talking about a particular project, but I was just letting them know that I want to do another project with them. And they do have other films arising. So most likely in the near future, you might see me maybe in something that with Foxhole Productions, hopefully, because huge fan of Jamie Foxx, first of all, like always looked up to him. So
All right.
anything with his name on it would be a blessing. That was just great to have been on Story Ave still and find out that he's a producer. So that is something for sure that I think about first when people do ask me about next projects, what I'm interested in, because being realistic in what could be immediately next, I do see that as something I'm like really interested in doing something again with Foxhole Productions actually. So I think that that might be the next thing for me, possibly.
Okay, awesome. This was amazing, Michael. Seriously, and I can see you being next action star, playing anti-heroes, like dark characters, even more and more. And I can't wait to witness that. So thank you so much. It was just awesome talking to you.
Thank you so much. It was great to have you intrigued and interested in all this world and all that, because I don't get to talk about this all the time in this depth, because some people don't have the capacity to ask certain questions like that. So like, and people who want to know the answer to these questions, they'll be able to watch this and see now.
Yes,
Um,
definitely. I know. It was amazing for both of us, I hope. And I hope
yeah,
I'm sure people will enjoy it. So yeah, thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.
for sure, for sure. And I'll keep you connected on everything nocturnal wise
Can't
as you pop
wait.
up, for sure.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. You have a good
Bye.
day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.